New York, big city of dreams.
I'm coming straight out.
New York, big city of dreams.
NYC.
What's going on? It's your JLS from Nick of Time Show here, giving you that Knicks talk just in the nick of time. And it is a very special episode today with a very special guest. Before I get into the new guest, we're going to talk about the old faithfuls, the guys who be here all the time, who started Nick of Time Show with me. First and foremost is my guy, the man, the myth, the legend, the guy with the stats and the facts.
Ryan G in the building.
Damn right in this building. Second of all is your man, Mr. Blue Check coming en route, doing songs with Redman, being too busy, but now he back.
Word. X and Sean in the building. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And also, somebody else might have a Blue Check coming. I can see that coming too. I can see. Knicks Film School newsletter writer. Getting fancy now, writing for Knicks Sports Illustrated, but still cool enough to come chill with us. It's another man, myth, and legend. He also has lots of stats if you read his articles, and lots of facts as well. Jonathan Macri.
What's going on, JLs? I feel like it's been now 2 years I've been talking to you on whether it's a podcast or like a post game or something. It's been quite a ride, but I appreciate having me on.
Hell yeah, man! It's a long time coming, yo. It's I was trying to have Mac back in the Mac. I was trying to have Macri back in our pod.
Mac's good. I like Mac. Mac is
Mac. Your name is Mac from now on. All right, I was trying to have Mac back in the pod when we was doing it together. But you know,
right.
it's a little
in person.
Yeah, it's a little. It's hard to pull guests when you're trying to do things in person. But you know, Corona happened, and you know what? Life intervened, and now look, it's easy to get people on. Right? Just stay
necessity, on. Necessity is the mother of invention.
Exactly.
Very true.
And we are here. All right. So speaking of necessity, we're going to talk about the necessities of the Knicks right now.
Yes.
The Knicks are picking 8. If you have not realized, we are picking 8. Yeah. I said it last week, man. We don't seem to actually pick higher than our record. We've gone down every year. We haven't had a.
I think Knicks fans should have mandatory therapy when it comes time to find out trade.
I mean, that's what this is. This is exactly what it is. We speak hope to Knicks fans coming. You know, we soothe the soul. That's what we do. That's part of our job.
Wrong with having hope, though. No, hope is a good thing.
Right, hope is a great thing.
Exactly. I mean, we have hope
been
now.
having hope for too many years now, though. That's the problem.
Exactly, but we have hope with draft picks and cap space right now. All right. Thank you, Scott Perry. You knew people hate him. All right. But anyway, I already know I'm getting negative likes for that comment. But anyway, because we have the 8th pick right now, some people might say, you know what? There's still talent under us that we can utilize. That won't be with the 8th pick. So why keep the 8th pick? Why not just trade down? If you're a guy like me and you want a point guard and your point guard might be gone by the time you get 8, shouts Killian, then maybe you want to trade down. So, but who do you want to pick first of all? Just get this out the way. Macri, who would you like to pick 8?
I mean, I'd love if Killian fell to 8. He's so, I think we're heading towards a discussion about trading down. To me, the one guy that I would not want to trade out of 8 for is if Killian was there.
Absolutely.
At least in terms of guys who were reasonable. Like I'm assuming that obviously the top 3 and Denny are going to be off the board. And then out of everybody else, I mean, there's no one else that I think is a sure shot to go before we pick. I think it's a possibility that Hayes could be there, Okoro, Halliburton. I think like all those guys, it's possible that they're there. But Hayes would be the guy that I'd be pretty excited about if he was there, and I would hope that they would pick him.
Absolutely, I would definitely want Hayes there. With Detroit being 1 pick ahead of us, though, it makes me weary that's going to happen. Which is why Macri's here.
Listen, you never know though, because look, I feel like every year the draft, it's you try to figure it out and you try to apply logic to what teams are going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Detroit is an interesting one because For one, the one position they actually have covered next year, even though he's not a long-term piece, is Derrick Rose. He's still there. Even though you're probably going to trade him. But yeah, I mean, it would make sense to trade him. But they just, I think they're the most talent deficient in terms of top end talent team in the entire league. So it wouldn't shock me if like they went in a different direction other than Hayes, especially if you buy the like Wasserman has been reporting over the last few weeks that there are teams that have Hayes, not even in their top 10 on their board. And is that a smoke?
Wow, really?
Yeah, I mean, look, maybe it's a smokescreen. I've heard that the Knicks like him, but who knows? So I wouldn't put anything past someone being there at 8.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is smoke screens all season. Golden State has been linked to every single player in the top 10 draft, as far as I'm concerned. So you just never know. It was like Golden State and Halliburton. I was just like, that makes sense too in my mind. But it's like, do you really see them taking Hallie that high? Maybe if they trade down, like we want to do, or might want to do, because I like Kira Lewis personally. So if it's not Hayes and you feel like Kira Lewis is a viable option, then and you think he'll be there around 13, 14, 15, then maybe you do that too. Exactly. Which brings me to Macri's article, actually.
Yes.
Weeks worth of articles. All 5 of them. Weeks. five different ones. Some more feasible than others, but yeah. Exactly.
Let's dive into it. Let's dive into your LaMelo Ball, because you know what, we're going to get our hands on a Ball brother one way or the other, right? If we can't draft one, gosh damn it, we might have to trade one.
Right.
So Macri proposes a trade of the 8th and 27th picks for the 13th pick, 39th pick, and Lonzo Ball. Now, Macri, tell us the rationale behind this pick.
Okay, I'll try to be quick. I think one, Lonzo is, I think he's a really interesting player, and I think he fit all season long. Well, not all season. Whenever Zion was there before the bubble, him and Ingram and Zion fit really well together. But they're about to have to pay Ingram, and with the max contract that they're going to give Ingram, they're going to go over the salary cap. And based on recent reporting, it seems like the cap is going to stay flat, maybe not even for just 1 year, maybe for 2 years. And even that might be optimistic. I mean, I don't think there's any way the cap is going to go down, but let's assume that it stays flat, which means it's going to stay at 109 for at least another year. That puts them over that number, and they're a year away from Drew Holiday being an unrestricted free agent. Right. JJ Redick is also, I think, a year away from being an unrestricted free agent, and whether they keep him or want to sign someone else. So, it's like, what are you paying? Like, and here's the other thing: Lonzo is repped obviously by Rock Nation. Are they, what's their MO? I just think he's going to want to get paid. I think we know what LeVar is. I mean, look, he's a Ball brother. He's going to want to get paid. Yeah. I don't think he's not taking any kind of like New Orleans hometown discount. Right. So I think that there's a chance that he is maybe available for less than like he would have been, let's say, before the trade deadline, because he I also think the fact that his shooting fell off in the bubble, so you'd be making a logical leap that like what we saw in the bubble was not indicative of where he is actually at now. That like the 38 or actually, sorry, it was like 39 or 40% from 3 this year. Like that, that's real. Because they need spacing around Zion and Brandon. So so basically my rationale is like New Orleans would be making an internal decision that they wanted to trade Lonzo this offseason, and to try to get the best talent that they could get out of the trade. So if you're the Knicks at the 8th pick, I think that there's a chance that New Orleans could get someone that they like. Vassell, to me, for New Orleans would make a lot of sense. Or the guy I mentioned in the piece is Halliburton. And Halliburton, it was kind of like Lonzo, except he's going to be making a lot less money.
Right.
And like, look, Lonzo is a specialist with the fast break, and that's his like bread and butter. And like Halliburton doesn't do that. But in terms of being that kind of like nominal point guard who's not the engine to your offense, but does a lot of other stuff well, I think that's what Hallie is. whatever. They would have their eye set on somebody at 8, and we, New York, would theoretically still feel like they could get to the guy that they wanted down at 13, which is the other half of it from the Knicks perspective. And then to try to even out the value, the swap of I forget what exactly I said, but there was something else what you said before about like a swap of like later picks or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's a swap of the 8th for the 27 picks, the 8th and 27 picks for the 13th pick, which for me still gives me in Kira's zone. Hi, Kira.
Yeah. Well, Kira, Cole, or the guy that don't ask me why. I have a funny feeling they're gonna, and this is not based on anything I've heard. I just have I have a funny feeling they may end up out of draft night with Maxi. I don't know why.
Really?
I don't know
Is it because of
why.
the connection with the new the coach that we just have?
Well, look at it this way. If he's a guy that is like what you read about him, right? About Maxi, is that aside from like the character stuff, he's like one of those guys you want not only in your locker room, but like on the court stuff, like his work ethic and like all that stuff. Right. And he looks the part, right?
Yeah,
the
body
weren't there. The percentages weren't there, but he looks the part. So I mean, he's just he's a little small and he's not a point guard. So I don't know, but that's so. In any case, I feel like we'd be able to get one of those guys at 13.
I agree. I agree with you. I forgot. The Kentuckies. I keep forgetting his name. The assistant we just hired from Kentucky. I know we did an interview with him.
Kenny Payne?
Yeah, Kenny Payne. There we go. Boom. Kenny Payne has been talking up Maxi before he even knew he was going to be a Knick. So it's very possible that Kenny Payne could be in the Knicks' ear and say, hey, I like this guy. He has a nice work ethic. I buy the shot because he's been, the shot selection is not there. But if he shoots the right shots, it would fall more. So I can see a scenario. Like Macri said,
connection.
We'll see.
I can see the scenario when that happens. I honestly don't see as much of a scenario as Kira because I really haven't seen any news on Kira at all. I'm just blind faith right now.
Listen, I like Kira a lot too. I've been high on Kira ever since I started like watching games of him because I think here's my biggest thing with Kira. Everybody's biggest knock on him is the fact that he's like 165 pounds soaking wet or whatever he is, and that they feel like he's not going to be able to defend at the next level other than, or like he'll if you switch on him, he's going to have a problem.
Right.
I watch his instincts on defense and I love them. I love how he navigates screens. I'm sure you feel the same way because I know you've spent a lot of time looking at him. Like, sure that he's small, but like, I don't know if a guy battles and knows how to navigate screens and stuff.
Exactly.
Like, I'll take my chances with that guy. I think the bigger concerns with him is like, if he's your point guard, he doesn't profile to me as like being like you need an engine alongside of him to make that offense work. And I don't know how much I don't know how likely they are to draft a guy that has a ceiling of like he could be the second best guy in a good starting backcourt. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they just fall in love with him, and I wouldn't mind it because I love Kira Lewis. I think he's a really good player, but I don't know.
My counter argument to that is he has the speed to break down, the offense, even though he doesn't have the initial engine point guard skills. But because we have RJ, he can kind of work as that 1-2 punch, and we can get by and actually make some noise. Because shout out to Jake because Jake in the Paint was here last week. If his strength is breaking down the offense and then whipping it out to shooters on the outside.
Right.
That's all we really need. Even if he can't finish that well at this point, the point is he has the speed is just there to make things happen on the fast break and to at least make something happen on the offensive end. And we just have our secondary creators just do what they do. So that's my argument. That's my best argument for him. And I'm gonna leave it at that. Since we have our insider here, let me just get to this because I've been getting DMs about Frank being traded for Lonzo Ball and somehow. Now, Macri, I know you were insider now because you're rubbing noses.
You give me too much credit. I hear stuff sometimes.
All right, you're more inside than I am. You're in the doorway I'm in the
let me
yard.
into the house from
All right.
outside.
No, you're knocking at the window. Let's say knocking.
Yeah,
at
you're
the
at the
fine.
window. All
Knocking
right.
at
Out the window.
All right. So from your assessment, do you feel like the Frank Lonzo Ball trade rumors? Is there anything to it?
I personally, well, let me answer this in two ways. One, I looked into it to the extent that I could, and I was told that, like, yeah, Frank, maybe, who knows, maybe Frank gets traded, but it's not like that's out there, coming from the Knicks at least. So, maybe the person who put that report out has some really, really deep connections to Leon Rose in his new front office. Anything is possible. I don't know. But I also know that same account has, I think on multiple occasions in the past, actually reported that, like, I think one time it was like the Knicks and maybe I forget what team it was, were in advanced discussions to trade Frank Ntilikina. And the other thing about the report was, I'm pretty sure it said that they are planning on trading someone. I don't think if you're an NBA team, you could plan on trading anyone, because that basically is saying, like, we'll just get rid of him for literally anything because we just want to get him out of here.
Right.
Yeah.
From what we've heard, the opposite is true. I think they want to give him a real chance under Tibbs and the whole thing. But just, as an aside, I don't know why New Orleans would want a guy who has been as uncertain from the outside when the one thing that they need is shooting, to surround Zion, to surround Ingram when he makes plays. Like, they're going to play a traditional center alongside Zion. So I don't know. I mean, look, it's possible, but I don't see it for those reasons.
Yeah, I totally. I mean, I saw the source and I scratched my head, and I'll just leave it there. I just leave it, and I was like, all right, cool. All right, so moving on to some of these other trade proposals that Macri has concocted. This one is interesting because we all know, Knicks need shooting. Even though I feel personally that I'm the leader of the Free Dot fan club, Free Dot. I feel like giving more minutes.
I think we're all on board with that, though.
I feel like giving more minutes and consistent time, you can get there to more consistent, consistent shooting defense. But that's neither here nor there. There's other shooters out there that we can possibly trade for, and one of them that is interesting is Bogdan Bogdanovic from the Sacramento Kings. The trade proposed is the 8th pick, the 27th pick, for the 43rd pick, Bogdanovic and Corey Joseph. So break down that trade for me and why you feel like that makes sense.
So the Corey Joseph part is just as a way to take on salary from the Kings. So a running theme through a couple of these trades that I pitched this week was that we, with COVID and like with the NBA, like certain owners, we don't know what their financial situation is. One thing we do know about Sacramento and the owners there is that area, the whole downtown Sacramento area, has been struggling immensely, and they have money tied up. They had to take out like a big loan to even get that arena built. And they own a lot of the property around there. So I think it's very conceivable that the Kings are struggling financially. And then the other part of it is I was about to say they have Buddy Hield that started an extension. The extension didn't even kick in yet. The extension kicks in this upcoming season. So they are going to owe him $94 million for the next 4 years, which, man, I get a lot of Buddy Hield trade proposals pitched my way, and I'm just like,
go ahead.
If you're going to pay a guy, $20-something million a year, he needs to do something more than just shoot, even if he's a really good
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I'm not gonna lie. When the Buddy Hield rumors was just swirling up, Brian, do you remember this? We were actually doing a show about Buddy Hield.
Yeah.
And before we actually put the show out, the Kings extended him. So we scrapped that whole segment.
I hate when that happens. But So if you assume, and obviously Fox isn't going anywhere, but that's the other thing. Darren Fox is up for an extension, and he's like a midnight max. So it doesn't seem, based on how they acted this year, that they feel that they could play the three of them together.
Yes.
So, and if you figure that Bogdanovic is going to cost minimum $15 million a year, and probably a couple bucks more than that, are they really down with paying three guys who can't play together? Just doing some quick math in my head. So upwards of $70 million, which is whatever percentage of the cap, 60 something percent of the cap. I don't see it. So I but then again, look, they could have traded Bogdanovic before the trade deadline, and
that's exactly what I was about to say.
They knew that this was coming. Maybe they just didn't get any great offers for him. Maybe they thought that the market was going to be, tepid. But to me, he's exactly like, if I'm the Knicks, like if there's a guy that I want to overpay for, it's Bogdanovic.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he offers you that's for me where it comes in, like, just people talk about, like, and we don't have to get into other, like, the draft, but like people talk about like Toppin and like these different guys that they want the Knicks to either draft or trade for, and I'm like, just watch the bubble, watch the playoffs. It's the league is, how many shooters do you have and how many playmakers do you have? And Bogdanovic does both, and he's really good at both. And so if there's a guy that I'm going to overpay for, if I'm the Knicks, it's that dude. The reason why this is, I think, unlikely is because it requires a lot of moving parts, which is that you can't do a sign and trade with someone that signed an offer. Like if the Knicks signed Bogdanovic to an offer sheet, he couldn't then be signed. Like the Kings can't match that offer sheet and then trade him to the Knicks for at least 6 months, I think the rule is. So this would there would have to be tampering involved, obviously, because if in my proposal, it would basically be like the Knicks would be drafting for the Kings, and then the Kings would be drafting for the Knicks. So, right. But again, if they agreed to this trade, that would mean that parties would be talking before free agency. So it's like, I don't think this is likely.
I have a theory, yo. I have a weird
please.
Theory. I have a theory. Jay Ellis theories, man. I have these weird theories sometimes. So one of my Worldwide West theories of why he took so long to get here was, he has to shut his businesses down, blah, 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 right? But my other theory is he was backyard tampering before he could officially sign with the Knicks. So technically he can't get in trouble if he's like, yo, Bogdan, man, listen, we need a shooting guard.
Right.
Are you interested? Parlay. Cool. Sign with the Knicks. Free agency hits. Deals already in place. Warless is sitting here like, aha.
I would do not anything, but I would like, man, there are very few players that are potentially available to the Knicks this offseason that could change the entire complexion of how they look as a team. And if you add shooting and playmaking at a non-point guard position,
right,
you either sign a half decent point guard who could actually shoot in free agency, or just draft one, or both.
Yeah.
Like that. If you add all that up and get a stretch four, like all of a sudden you have a competent basketball team, not a good basketball team, but one.
Absolutely.
But one that at least makes sense. But ultimately, for every one of these things that I wrote, I came at the end. I was like, would I do it or not? I wouldn't, because to me, it's like, just if you're gonna overpay for him a little bit anyway, just make the offer and restrict the free agency and keep your fingers crossed. Like don't
trade for him.
Don't try to work out a trade ahead of time. Just try to pay the man.
I can see that. Like, I guess, for me, I feel like Sacramento would go try to trade Buddy Hield first out of anything, because they demoted him to 6th man. So if there is a trade to be had, it would be the Buddy Hield trade.
But who's trading for him? Like, unless you're taking back bad money, and like you want to look at like Philly or something, and like you're taking back Al Horford. Like, I don't know, what would it take to incentivize Philly to make a Horford for Hield swap? I don't know.
Exactly.
We'll see.
Exactly, which is what I was getting to, because I know Knicks fans are also putting out Buddy Hield trades, which is why I mentioned this. And Macri,
I said my heel piece. I don't.
all right. all right. We'll move on. We'll move on from Buddy Hield then. Even though, personally, if the money wasn't so crazy, man, he just seems like he made a lot of sense. But the money is a little bit disheartening, man. Like over $20 million for somebody who shoots, and that's all.
Yeah.
As good as he is, even though that's what we need.
But it's just limiting though. If that's all he's offering for $20 million, I don't think that's worth it.
Yeah, if it doesn't translate
like
to
a little
wins.
playmaking, like I don't even want to say playmaking. He knows how to pass the ball. It's not like
he plays basketball.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, basic passes still work.
Yeah, no, I just he's not good on defense. He's a flat out. I think is a bad defender. But he's got size.
Right.
But that's one of those things. Like, if just for argument's sake, if Hield was available just for a salary dump, and we got like Randall off the books, even though the Kings wouldn't. I can't imagine they would have any interest in Randall.
Yeah.
You think about that, right? Think about it.
If I'm moving random, I'm always thinking. I would say that.
Oh man, I feel bad for Julius. You know, Julius blocked me.
What?
He blocked you?
He blocked me. I read.
You're like the nicest of the beat, right?
I was hard on him this year, and I have a feeling, and I know like my
because of that.
Oh, I don't know. I mean,
he's been getting it on Twitter and Instagram.
Right. So he's just blocking everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know when he did it. I've never looked at his Twitter until the other day that I forget what I was writing an article, and I wanted to look to see if he tweeted about something, and I looked and I'm like, oh crap. Anyway, sorry, Julius, if you're listening.
Oh man.
Oh man. I mean, you kind of can't blame Julius though, because Julius been receiving a whole lot of negative energy since he's been with the Knicks. So it's like, I guess from his standpoint, he's like, yo, I'm just gonna block every single person that says one thing bad about me.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's okay.
It's
a lot of blocking.
No hard feelings.
It's like,
more blocking than he did on the court.
We hear Mac.
Sorry,
Exactly.
Oh man. Yo, and it's been, who was it you who said that the Knicks are looking to move Randall?
I mean, me? I mean, I think they would listen to any, but even, I think Berman had that before the trade deadline. He said that the Knicks were open to offers, and there was that Rozier rumored trade,
right.
which thank Christ,
thank God that didn't happen. Lord.
But yeah, I think they'll move him in the right deal, but I don't think they're gonna like make a. Again, this is not anything I've heard, but I think let me put it this way: I think the people there now recognize that last year, from a philosophical basketball standpoint, didn't work. And if they just trot the same thing out there this year, it's not going to work any better. So I think they know that they obviously need to make some changes, but at the same time, they'll see what comes their way, I guess.
Understood. Well, I feel like he works better as a six man, but he gets paid too much to be that. But if we end up signing a actual 3-point shooting big like Bertans, hopefully, even though it seems like a pipe dream, I see your face, Mac.
I don't think they're. I think that guy's agent is doing work right now.
Okay. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Hey, baby, I love Bertans. Trust me, I'd pay Bertans close to like $18 million a year.
I would do 18 in a heartbeat.
I would do 18,
especially if we get rid of Randall. I'll do that in a heartbeat.
Especially
if we put Randall somewhere where we trade up, him, Randall, some picks to trade up somewhere and grab some other young player, and then get Bertans to stretch the floor for RJ. I'm all for it. And then sign Ingles or sign and trade. I'm all for that. Just get us some shooting for real. Let's bring us to another trade proposal from Boston. This is an interesting one too. The 8th pick for the 14th, the 26th, and the 30th pick.
Yeah, Yeah, this one, a lot of people responded that they really liked it, which leads me to believe that it's probably not realistic. But I mean, no, but if you look throughout NBA history, like there is precedent for this. The Nets trade that got them Richard Jefferson is, it's 20 years ago. And I think the profile, it's terrible what happened to him since, but the profile of Eddie Griffin at the time in that trade was like he was a big deal. He was like a highly touted, there was a lot of intrigue there, more so than there will be probably with anybody available at the 8th pick this year. I just think Boston has a roster crunch, and like they're on right now. Like they don't have any open roster spots, and the thing, with first round picks, like you have to sign them unless you're going to stash them. So like, yeah, even if you give them Bolmero at, let's say for argument's sake, 26, like that's still 2 picks they need to make. Maybe they sell one, but does Boston really want to be selling a pick? To me, a way that they could try to capitalize on those assets. So, I think my original trade that I wrote had us sending 38 back, and if that's what it took, I'd probably do it. Just because I'm really actually more and more confident that, and again, this may be nuts, but I'm confident that the guy that the Knicks want, I think might be available, whatever it is, 12, 13, 14, then as 8.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there was a report that said the Knicks feel like the talent pool is kind of close from, I forgot the number, was from 4 to 14. I remember the 14 was a stopping point.
Well, Perrin, when he was with Utah in April, said that he said from 15 to 40, this draft is the eye of the beholder. Now, maybe he was just picking 15, out of a hat. But I don't know. I found it interesting that he actually said that number. And look, that was back in April. Is it possible his evaluations have changed since then? Of course there is.
Right.
But to me, I don't know. He's the guy that's going to be making the pick. So the fact that he said it is interesting to me. and here's the other thing. He had the luxury of being honest by saying that, because at the time he was still with Utah, who was not going to be picking in the top 15. So it's like he didn't feel like he was giving anything away by saying that at that time, but it doesn't make it not true. So I thought that was interesting.
That's interesting. So he kind of almost showed his hand before he realized he showed his hand. That's interesting.
Maybe, yeah. And they do a ton of homework. Their draft is a year-round process for them. So I think his board then, I'm sure it's not too dissimilar from what it is now.
Exactly. And if you watched our earlier show when we did the breakdown of Will Perrin, you can see that he's no stranger to picking well, from Paul Millsap to Donovan Mitchell, trading up for him. Right. Utah has a reputation of just picking low and maximizing their draft assets. So I'm very excited to see what these guys have in store. If he says that there's some guys 15 to 30 that are gems, I'm going to bank that he might be right and we get somebody nice. So hopefully that happens. And like you said, Macri, too, I'm with you, man. I know you said it's not realistic, but to me it's realistic. Because
I don't think it's nuts. I mean,
for what you're saying, I mean, they don't have roster spots. What are you going to do? You might as well.
And I think they like their team. And look, if they make a run to the finals, which I don't think is out of the question, like I would think that they would want to keep that core together. And if there's an opportunity for them to capitalize, like the guy, I think I mentioned maybe Vassell or Toppin, but the more I think about it, I think they would go for Okongwu if they made that trade, because it seems like smart people feel like Okongwu might be the best guy to come out of this draft. And to the extent that a center can be the best guy out of a draft with how the game is played right now. But that's the one position that they don't have kind of locked up. So, I could see it.
No, I agree. No, I definitely agree, because Vassell with the guys they have there at the wings doesn't really make sense to me.
He'd be a bench player.
Yeah, exactly. He'd be a bench player, but you want to get that starting 5 locked in. So I totally agree. I totally agree. I'll go with that trade as well. All right, we've been through the trades that Macri has talked about in his articles. I don't know if you want to talk about any other more. I don't know how much time you have.
No, I think that those are the ones that I did one more. I did one on the Suns earlier in the week that I would get us Oubre, which I don't think is going to happen. And then I did
Oubre.
I like Oubre too, but I don't. I think he's an interesting player. He doesn't solve the problems I think this team has. It would be a upside play, I guess. And he's also an expiring contract. But and then just the last thing I'll say before I get out of here is like I think the Magic is another interesting trade partner because they are a team that like so that like I think the Pelicans, like the Celtics are set. Like they don't need to do anything crazy.
Right.
The Pelicans don't need to do anything crazy. The Suns don't need to do anything crazy.
Right.
The Kings, I mean, they do crazy stuff all the time, but like they kind of have their core in place. The Magic, like they got to do something. They got to do something because it's just clearly it's something needs to give. And I think that there's they have some salary to dump, and Al-Farouq Amino, who's making unbelievable. I can't believe that contract, how bad that contract is. They gave him 3 years, $30 million fully guaranteed last offseason. That is insane.
Sounds like some Steve Mills stuff.
But it really does. And that contract doesn't get beat up enough. And not that he's like a bad player, but like he averaged 4 points a game for them over the 20 some odd games he played before he got injured. So there's a salary dump candidate there. Mm-hmm. And there's also what was the other one? There was a swap of like the 8 and 15. Oh, and then they have Aaron Gordon, who I feel like Aaron Gordon has been on the trading block since the day he signed his contract. Literally the day he signed his contract, because the contract is a descending contract. And like, why do you make a descending contract? To make a player more appealing in a trade. Right. And again, Aaron Gordon, he can't shoot it, but he makes more sense at the 4 for this team than Julius Randle does, on defense. And
I feel you. People are going to flip if they see somebody else who Scott Perry knew on his team.
But that's the other thing. We know that the Magic and the Knicks have had trade conversations in the past. They almost pulled off a Peyton swap a year and a half ago. Like that was pretty far down the road. It wouldn't shock me to see those two teams pull off a trade at some point. My favorite one of that is to essentially swap 8 and 15. And I think I pitched like we would send them Dennis Smith Jr. and they would give us their top 10 protected 2021 pick.
That is a robbery.
Listen,
of all robberies, man.
Honestly, I think I would contemplate swapping first round picks this year and taking on Aminu's contract if it got me their 2021 pick, even with some protections. I don't know if I would do that trade with a top 10 protection, but like if I could do that with like a top 5 protection, oh my God, I would do that.
Okay, let's break. Okay, so next year's 21. Okay,
yeah.
Next year's the deep one.
It's the draft you want,
right?
With as many bites at the apple as possible.
Absolutely. So, yes, I'm on board right there. How long is his contract?
It's not good. It's 2 more. It's 2 more years. But to that end, 2 things. One, they don't need the money this summer. So really, even though it's 2 more years, you're looking at it as it's 1 year that's going to be an inconvenience.
Right. Okay.
And that last year, it's like if we've learned anything in the NBA over the years, like you could find someone to dump a $10 million expiring contract on.
Exactly.
At the last minute. The Nets dumped Crabbe's contract to facilitate the signings they did last summer in June, and it cost them a middling first round pick. Like you could always, if you need the money, if you need the money because somebody tells you like, hey, we're gonna come if you get the money. Like you could, you'll find someone to dump the contract on. So to me, that shouldn't like. I think that's the one thing that I haven't heard anything about that I hope they do this summer is, or this summer. I keep saying this summer. It's freaking September in 2 days.
Right, summer's over now.
I know, right? Is using their cap space. And again, I have no idea if any teams are going to want to do this because who knows? Maybe we're all making too much of the financial issues. But if they could get a future draft asset, like a real future draft asset, not some like with crazy protections, like, man, I would do that. If it's a team that's like has a chance to not be very good, I'd do that.
It wouldn't be me if I didn't have sirens in my background.
I was about to say what's going on. The block is hot.
It just wouldn't be me. You're absolutely right. They might try to keep their little backup point guard there too if they want to pay him a little bit more money to stay there. And DJ Augustine.
I think, man, I would bet a not insignificant sum of money that Augustine is going to be a Knick next year.
Dude, if Augustine is a Knick next year, I'm happy with that.
He's solid.
He's solid. To me, he shoots the three. He can bring the young guys along, and we don't really lose that much of a step, man. Like we give RJ the space we need. We could bring Kira, whoever, Frank along, and then we're good to go.
He's a Tibbs guy. He had his best statistical season of his career under Tibbs.
Okay, let's go.
Exactly. Just go DJ Augustine and keep it moving, man. I'm on the Augustine train, man. I'm on the Augustine train.
It's not nuts.
It's not nuts, and it's funny because some people get on me for not wanting Fred VanVleet here. Not that I don't want him here. Because I would love Fred VanVleet here next to RJ to give him space. I feel like he's a nice little combo guard. Right. I just feel like it's one unlikely that we steal him from Toronto. And I don't listen. He's 26, right? Mm-hmm. What do 26-year-olds want, Ryan?
Money.
What do they want, Ryan? They want the bag,
yeah,
right?
They want money. Yeah.
They want the
Ryan
bag.
answered that too quickly.
I haven't really seen much 26-year-olds leave the bag for loyalty for the team. I haven't seen it happen a lot. So to me, for us to steal him from Toronto, we have to like damn near max the guy because I don't think it's gonna be $20 million. All right, let me go to a losing franchise. I don't think that's how it works.
But isn't that gonna be the first test of this front office? You know, like to see, because I think they'll get a meeting with him. Unless he resigns with Toronto before. But I don't know. I can't see Toronto overpaying because they're smart and they don't overpay guys. It's just not what they do. They don't overpay guys that they feel like the contract is not going to be movable if they need to move it in a pitch. Like obviously they gave Kyle Lowry and Serge Ibaka a lot of money. I get that, but like they did it on their terms and they knew what they had and they so I don't think there's no chance.
Okay.
I don't think there's no chance. I think there's a chance.
Okay, because all right, I guess you know what? I guess you're right, because for Toronto, they want to sign a big name free agent, right? So you have that. But I also feel like they're gonna have other players coming off the books too, in Ibaka and Marcus Gasol. So they might have wiggle room over there to do what they want. And actually, to me, that's what I'm thinking. They're gonna have a little bit more wiggle room if they let those guys walk, re-sign VanVleet, and then sign whoever they want in the offseason.
This may seem preposterous, and then I actually got to go after this. I think we are going to look at, as long as Masai stays there, and I guess to a certain extent Nick Nurse, because he is that good. I think the Raptors are about to go on a run like we just saw from the last 20 years or whatever, 25 years from the Spurs. And if you look, because they are so confident in their program and what they do and how they bring literally nobodies.
Right.
Fred VanVleet was undrafted. Siakam was a 27th pick in the draft. Like Norm Powell, anybody could have traded for that guy if they wanted to. The rookie this year, Davis. Like that guy might end up on the All-NBA rookie first team. He's really good. Right. They find these guys and they bring them along and they know what they're looking for. And and if you look at San Antonio over the last 20, 25 years, what have they done? Guys come up in their system, and then when it's time for payday, they let them walk. Unless it's one of the core guys, they let those guys walk. And you've seen San Antonio guys, unless they're willing to stay for less, which like Danny Green has done, other guys I'm sure I'm forgetting before Danny Green have done that, but like they let their guys walk. When it's time for payday. So I don't know. I have no inside information on this. I'm just talking out of
it's a hypothesis. We guessing.
Yeah, but that's to me an apt comparison. Anyway,
okay.
This was fun. I'm sorry I got to run, but I got.
That's fine, man. Yo,
I got to watch my daughter for a bit before the
Word.
podcast.
Thank you for giving us all the time, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us, Mac.
Anytime. It was great chatting with you guys, and yeah, man, this was. We'll do it again soon.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. Okay, thank you, Jonathan Macri, for your insight.
Yes,
very knowledgeable guy. I'm glad to have him on the KOT show and talk about some trade down scenarios that might interest you. One thing I did want to say about that VanVleet situation too is we still have to compete with the Phoenix Suns as well for VanVleet, and if we can get him for a reasonable amount of money, bypass Toronto and Phoenix Suns, who was a lot more set than we are, then hey.
I mean, since the finals that they won, I'm like, yo, VanVleet came out of nowhere.
Like,
out of nowhere. And I mean, you got to give it to them that they really know how to pull out from their talent.
Right.
Yeah, they do.
Those pieces.
Exactly. I would like to keep that number a little, not north of 20.
Right. little south of 20.
Not north of 20. Because as I said before, like he's not a real number one in my eyes. But he's just a really good piece to have next to RJ.
Absolutely, yeah. He's definitely not a traditional one.
So it's like it's weird to me to spend over $20 million for someone who's not a real number one.
But I guess you gotta weigh. I mean, and especially with the makeup of our team,
right?
You gotta weigh his contribution.
For the wake up, yes. We
need the shooting, but we also need someone who can facilitate the offense. And I mean. Yeah, because that's usually Kyle Lowry's job. He really plays like a short two guard, VanVleet.
Yeah,
right, exactly. So
yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's like the legit like lead guard that the Knicks need. And then on top of that, if you're gonna pay him like a hefty salary too, like
can't
20
be coming
million.
off the bench.
Yeah, exactly. Like it doesn't really make much sense for the Knicks. But I mean, I understand like people's like infatuation with him and why they would want him to come to the Knicks, etc. Because he does provide shooting and things like that. But when you look at the whole scope, it's like I don't know, man.
Yeah, we're not in the majority. I'll tell you that, guys. We're not in the majority.
Really? But he's not. I mean, again, I like his game, but he's not really a playmaker like that.
Right. He's a good piece. He's having a great series. And his value will go up because he's hitting career highs, 35 points. And
exactly. Like low key, he's having a good 2 seasons, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Again, not trashing the guy. I love the guy. I love the player.
Right. Exactly.
Really good.
Exactly.
He fit perfectly for us. It's just it's money. It's really about money. But I understand the thinking. You want to stabilize the offense with a real point guard that can shoot in space 4. I get that. But anyway,
exactly. Sorry to cut you off right quick, but I mean to be real about it, like for example, when Macri came in, like the 2 guards that he mentioned that we trade for, like I would much rather either Lonzo Ball or Bogdan Bojanovic, or rather than
right.
Fred Fleet.
They're more versatile players. They'll give you more than just shooting. And not to say that VanVleet will only give you shooting, because again,
now VanVleet is a good defender too. So
that's what I'm about to say. Yeah. He's a good defender. He's a scrappy player. He can get to the rack when he wants to, and he's strong.
He can't finish at the rack, but that's another thing.
Right. Again, and it would, I guess, matter less if his decision making after he broke the defense down, and the decision making, the counter decision making, the counter pass out of getting impeded to the basket. If that was better and more efficient, but
right,
yeah.
Definitely Bogdanovich. I think that would be a great pickup.
We'll see.
Yeah, Bogdanovic and Lonzo Ball for me.
I'm with that. Hey, I'm cool with DJ.
Yes, I definitely have. First off, I'd like to give the first bruh to 2020. You started out the year taking Kobe from us. Now you took Chadwick too.
Yeah.
T'Challa?
Yeah, man.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace. Rest in peace, Chadwick Ballin.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you can't forget Cliff Robinson too.
Cliff Robinson, that's right. Cliff Robinson too.
Rest in peace.
Oh my God.
It's been a crazy year, 2020.
I'm ready to say Happy New Year tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then we just start 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want 2020 restart.
Yeah, we don't want to restart because sometimes when you restart, it ended up being worse than what it was. Let's just skip this.
I'm with you.
Exactly.
We can move past this for sure.
The next one is Mark Short, who is Mike Pence's chief of staff, who called, first off, he kind of dismissed the NBA boycott and called it absurd and silly and that no one cares and that they should be grateful that they are making enough money at a job that they can take a day off and not be financially impacted. WTF. Like, you're completely missing the point.
Exactly.
And again, you don't have to care about the point because none of your family is directly impacted by this. So for you, everything's just X's and O's and numbers.
But doesn't
and
Congress
like,
take weeks off when they chose to passing this bill for the stimulus package?
of course. Listen, of course.
That's neither here nor there.
But bro, just what did that woman say? Just shut up and dribble. That's pretty much what he's saying.
Yeah.
Trump, just shut up and dribble. Oh, no one even really likes the NBA anymore because it's become too political. Okay, I don't remember them. I mean, who was the president when Jim Brown? I need to look that up. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and they had that summit. You know, this is not new. These people are representing the faces of the people that are being transgressed upon.
Yeah.
They represent, these are the people that the people in those neighborhoods look up to. They represent us. So they're making a huge statement by boycotting. And for you to like downplay it, why am I even surprised? Because again, they don't care. It doesn't affect them.
Yeah.
So I'm giving, go ahead.
You know what? People who say that, you know what they fail to realize? They fail to realize that even if, Ryan, if you become a multi-millionaire today, there are friends and family members who you know who aren't multi-millionaires, and they're looking for you for help and to pull them up. And it just because you've made it does not mean you forget about everybody else who needs help behind you.
Yeah.
And what they fail to realize is because that's how we feel. Because that's our reality. No matter how rich or famous or whatever we get, we're always going to look back to help whoever's behind us or who's not at our level. So that comes with being money. That comes with speaking out. That comes with everything else. Because until everybody makes it, or at least a good percentage of us makes it, then no one, in my mind, no one's made it.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting when you say that, you know, or they say, oh, they can't relate. Yes, you can. You know that your son is a C student at best. What are you going to do? You're going to put in a good word at Morgan and Stanley so he gets a good job.
Yeah.
So that he can be financially secure. Right? They don't forget their own. Exactly. So, you know, they're looking at us and because, what do you mean? We're giving you all this money. How dare you? Mm-hmm. We're giving you all this money. How dare you?
Exactly.
Well, one, they would play basketball regardless.
Yep.
I'm pretty certain of that. You've decided to give them that money.
Exactly.
Right? So what? They're making that money. They also are looking around and seeing people that look like them who could have been them if circumstances were different.
Yeah.
And they said, yo, listen, nah, I feel something for that. Here's something. I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was talking to two friends, completely separate circumstances. One friend, I said, man, they really should they could, if they want to, start their own league. They could start their own league. They're like, oh, no, that wouldn't work. They wouldn't make money. They would lose money in the beginning. You're right. They would in the beginning. But then I spoke to another friend of mine, same thing. He's like, yo, you're right. And you know what? And he this is what gave me perspective. He's like, it's not like the NBA can find replacement players for the best players in the world. If they decided next month or for next season, like after NBA, we're going to create our own league. There's going to be bumps and bruises, but I guarantee you every network would show up at each one of those games. Why? To see it fail. But guess what? that would be the thing that would help it succeed. Like I feel like they could do
Absolutely.
it. They have enough money.
The problem with that is getting multiple people on the same page. That's the biggest problem.
And so that's the hardest piece.
The hardest is not
because
it's not that it can't be done. It's that multiple people have to commit, because what happens is when building your own thing becomes an element of fear.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
Of course.
Building a Nick of Time show, I'm putting my own money up, paying people video.
Right.
Is an element of fear. It could fail. And when there's an element of fear, it could fail, and people have responsibilities with their families and children, they don't want to go in big. Not everybody has that mindset I'm going in. And I
think I think you nailed it. That's where it starts, man, is the mindset. I mean, I don't want to say I've lost. I've invested quite a bit of money into music. And if I look back and I look at how much I've actually invested, I probably cry about it.
Yeah.
But when I look at where I am now, I'm like, that investment's paying off.
It's coming back.
And it's not for everybody. And honestly, I think you might be right. Maybe I doubt everybody in the league would be on board for that, because not everybody has an entrepreneurial mindset.
Yeah, exactly.
Some people are in there to just ball and collect that check.
Exactly.
Look at the bench full of bench players.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
they're there to collect a check, and they love playing ball still.
Exactly. Everybody's situation is different, yo. People got mamas, and so I'm taking an easy check.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's gonna take a few individuals who are or multiple individuals who are brave to do something like that. And
so there's a lot to be considered, but I do think that's the way we need to be thinking. I think that's something that they should at least consider, because the value that they have, once it's removed or they take control of it, is just so empowering, man.
Yeah.
So empowering.
Exactly.
Anyway, that's it. I'm getting off the soapbox, guys.
All right, guys. No picks this week. No Knicks basketball. So
nah.
Yeah.
But matter of fact, though, I think we should give a ooh. Like, even though it's not Knicks related, I think we should give a ooh to the players that's in the bubble right now playing ball, because they did boycott for and they
we can do that. We can make that exception for this time.
There we go.
Exactly.
Make that.
Yeah.
So ooh for you guys playing in the bubble and actually boycotting it in general and getting on the same page at the same time in a quick fashion. Even though I know you guys were behind the scenes talking about should we do this, should we not? Just kudos being on the same page.
But it was just the unity that they showed, man.
Yeah.
Unity for being on the same. Yeah. Kudos for being on the same page, because that doesn't happen.
For real.
Pay attention to NFL.
Oh, facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
Ooh for that. All right. But now it's time for the other part of the show, the bruh picks. Bruh picks are usually the worst players of the week, but there's no Knicks basketball. I know there's been some life bros this week. It's been a crazy heavy week.
Yeah.
So I guess we can talk about that. Bruh picks, anybody?
All right.
Something to just light up the mood a little bit.
Yes.
So earlier this week on Inside the NBA, there was a segment where I think after Giannis won the Defensive Player of the Year, Shaq was greeting him. And, Shaq is, he's trying to be an international dude nowadays, right?
Right.
So he's trying to learn different languages, how to greet, international players in their language and things like that.
Okay.
So when he was interviewing Giannis, he said something to Giannis in Greek, and Giannis gave him the ill look on his face like, what the hell is he saying? So Giannis just ended up being like, okay, yeah. And then Shaq was like, you ain't understand me, brother? And Giannis is like, not really. So Shaq said it again. And then Giannis is like, well, I only understood one word. It's the first word, congrats. But then after that, I don't know what the hell you said.
Oh, no.
Studying is in order. At least he didn't say anything foul. At least he didn't say your mama hops on bananas. I don't know, whatever.
Right. You trying to keep it clean? I feel you. I feel you.
I thought that was gonna go even more different than the way you was telling the story, but I feel you. All right.
Right.
Cool.
Oh my god.
All right, guys. That is our show.
Yep.
Thanks, Macri, for popping through. Thank Edson for making your return. Return of Edson Sean. Blue check coming. And shout out to Ryan G as well, man, because you're here. You be here.
Word.
You can find me. You know where to find me. You can find me at J Ellis Drawstings. That's JELLIS Drawstings. No $S or anything. Straight up, J Ellis Drawstings. Where can they find you, Edson?
You can find me on all social media platforms at Edson Sean. That's EDSONSEAN. And I have several singles out. The latest one, I created it during the George Floyd situation, but unfortunately it applies again. It's called Am I Next? Go check it out. I have some merch that also goes along with that. The Am I Next t-shirts at www.edsonsean.com. Yeah,
exactly. And follow us too on the KOT Show on Twitter, the Nick of Time Show on Instagram. Hit us on YouTube. If you don't watch us on YouTube, are you dumb, man? Yo, shout out to Dash Radio. Dash Radio. I know some of you guys listen to Dash Radio. Hit our YouTube up so you can see us talking with the clips, with the jokes, with the hand gestures, all that together.
Exactly.
Get the full package, the full impact of what's happening. So definitely do that.
Exactly.
Okay. Cool. And Ryan, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Sir G is
Sir
chillin'.
G is chilling.
That is SIR. G is CHILLIN.
That's right.
Word.
That is our show. We out of here.
Yo, we out.
Peace.
New York, big city of dreams.
I'm coming straight out.
New York, big city of dreams.
NYC.